Okay, my friends, Boker Tov. Today's Daf Yomi is Moed Katan 28, and we're going to start on 27b, around 15 lines from the bottom. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, that Rav Yehuda taught in the name of Rav, called Miskash al Misaso Ameso Yoser Midai. Whoever mourns excessively for their deceased relative, in the end, terrible thing, you're going to end up crying for another one. Because there was a woman, she lived in Rav Huna's neighborhood. She had 7 sons. One of them died. So she was crying excessively for him. You're supposed to cry, but you also have to have a period where you figure out how to move one foot in front of the other and just figure out how to move on in life. So what happened was, she cried excessively. So Shalcha Rav Huna, Rav Huna said, "Don't do this. Stop. It's too much." She didn't listen. Shalach, he sent her a message. It said, "It was me good. Otherwise, start preparing the shrouds for the next one." And that's what happened. The next one died. Misukul, all her children died. With Sof, in the end, he said to her, Timosh Zevadaso and Avshech. He said, in the end, prepare the shrouds for yourself. And that's what happened. Umisa, and she died too. So we see from here that the rabbis, they tell you how to mourn. You're not supposed to mourn extra. It's okay to daven a little longer. But when it comes to mourning, if you go too much, it's not good. Al tivku ames, it says in a verse in Jeremiah, do not cry for the dead, don't eulogize him. Cry for those going, because they're not gonna come back. What does that mean? Don't cry for the dead. You're supposed to cry. It's a midah not to cry. It's a bad attribute not to cry. You're supposed to cry for the dead, but don't cry excessively. Don't eulogize. Don't eulogize too much. Okay, it's sad. I'll tell you how. The first 3 days, cry a lot. And then Shiva. Then you have Shiva Lahesped. During Shiva, you eulogize. You talk about the dead. The next 30 days, you don't press your clothing. You don't do laundry. Well, just borrow it, and you don't get a haircut. From that point on, from that point on, God says, Don't be more merciful than me. You think I don't care? God is saying, I created this. I created the human being. I'm the one who's mourning. Don't be more mourning than me. Cry for the one going. That means cry for somebody who goes without children, somebody who dies without children. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi never went to a Shiva house unless it was except for somebody who cried without children, who died without children. Rav Huna Amar, what does that mean? What does it mean? Cry for one who's going. It means this refers to somebody who does a sin and is still doing it. He repeats it. Rav Huna is consistent. Rav Huna says once you do a sin and you repeat it, it's permitted. Is it really permitted? If you do a sin once, then it becomes permitted? Once you do the sin once, you broke through psychologically in your mind. It's like it's permitted. It becomes a new norm. Exactly. The first 3 days is a very, very dangerous time from the mazel of the person who's mourning. It's not good, as we say, so to speak, karma. A person should view himself as though there's a sword between his thighs. Be exceedingly careful. From 3 to 7, he should view it as though there's a sword opposite him in the corner. From that point on, it's still not a great time, but from 7 to Shloshim, it's as though there's a sword near him in the marketplace. Then we said in the Mishnah, you're never supposed to put the body of the women in the street for the funeral, because it's not honorable for them. Why not? Amri Nardai, so Nardai explained, Lo Shana, we're on the top of 28a, El Chaya. This was taught about a woman who died during childbirth because there's there's some blood, there's some stuff goes on. She died during a surgery. Aval Shar Nashim, but all other women, Manichan, you can put them in the street to have the burial there, to have the funeral there. All other women also, you shouldn't put them in the street to have the burial. Miriam died, and she was buried there, which means right away, right when they die, take him straight out to be buried. Don't wait. Miriam also died by a kiss from Hashem. How do we know this? It says Vatama Sham Miriam, and it says Moshe also by Moshe Rabbeinu. It says Vayama Sham Moshe. So we see the word there appears by both of them, and by Moshe it says Al Pi Hashem, by the mouth of God. So it's just Moshe died from the mouth of God. So to Miriam, so why doesn't it say by Miriam that she died by the mouth of God? Because it's not appropriate to say about a woman that she died from the mouth of God. Why is the death of Miriam next to the passage of the red heifer? To tell you, it's just like the paraduma serves as an atonement. So to the death of the righteous serves an atonement. How does the paraduma serve as an atonement? Because the Toso cites the Midrash, it's to atone for the sin of the golden calf. God said it's like if you have a maid and the maid makes the house dirty, you say to the maid, go clean up after your son. So too, we're saying to the red heifer, clean up after your child, which is the Ego Azav. Why is the death of Aaron right before he died? It talks about his garments of the Kohen to teach you, and just like the garments of the Kohen, so to the death of the tzaddikim serve as an atonement. We see this on the Asara Rugi Malchios on Yom Kippur. The deaths of the righteous serve as an atonement. Tanu Rabbanan, if a person dies, Meis Pito, if a person dies suddenly, Zu Misa Chatufa, that's what's called a grabbed Misa, a grabbed death. Chol Yom Echad, Umeis, if they're sick for a day before they die, Zu Misa Dechufa, that's a pushed off death. Chananya Ben Gamliel Omer Zu Misas Magefa, that's the death of a plague. As it states, Ben Adam, God says to Ezekiel, I'm going to take your delight in a plague. And I spoke to people in the morning, and my wife died in the evening, said Ezekiel. So we see from here that this is what's called a misas magefa, death by a plague, because Ezekiel uses the word magefa. Shnei yamim umeis lui misa dechuyev, 2 days and then you die. It's called a pushed off death. Gimel, if it's 3 days, Ga'aretz, a rebuke. Arba, if it's 4 days, Nazifa, that's called a Nazifa. It's called a rebuke. Chamisha, 5 days, Zui Misas Koadim, that's the death of everyone. That's basically the appropriate way to die. Sick for 5 days and then you die. Amar Chanin Ma'ikra, what's the verse saying? Karvu Yamecho Amut. Behold, your children are coming close to death. Hain is Chad, Hain means one, Kurvu is tray. That's 2 and Yamecha is 3. So therefore, Moshe was sick for 4 days. Hain, how do we know Hain is 1? Shekem B'lashon Yavani Korin La'achasin. In Greek, 1 is Hain. Meis B'chamishim Shana, if a person dies at the age of 50, Zu, he, Misas, hold on, I lost my paper. Zui Misas Kares, that's what we call Kares, severe penalty from heaven. We don't know what it is. You get Kares. 36 things that you can get kares for, and the way it manifests itself is dying at the age of 50. Chamishim Mushtayim Shanam, if you die at the age of 52, Zui Mitzasa Shal Shmuel Aramasi, that's how Shmuel died. Shmuel Aramasi died at 52. Shishim, if you died at 60, Zui Misa V'dei Shemayim, that's already okay, that's death from heaven. Amar Mar Zotra, what's the source for this? Ma'ikra, T'chsev Tavo B'kel Chelai Kever. That basically I have the afflictions to come upon me, Job says. Eliphaz tells Job, before you come to the grave, so you have the afflictions. And Bekelch B'gematria is Shitin. That's 60. Kelch is 60. So we see from here, 60 is okay. Shivim, if you die at the age of 70, that is Seva. That's a sign of death at a ripe old age of wisdom. Shmonim at 80, it's Gvuros, is strength. The days of our years were 70 years. And with strength, 80 years. Rabbi says from 50 until 60 years, Zui Misas Karis, that's the death of Karis. Meaning Karis is not just 50, it's from 50 until 60. And the reason why we didn't count it in the earlier source was Mishim Kvodo Shal Shmuel Aramati. We don't want people to think that Shmuel Aramati died at the age, died from Karis, because he died at 52. But so that's why we didn't say it explicitly. But really, if he died from 50 to 60, that's Karis. Rav Yosef Kiav Bar Shitim, when Rav Yosef turned 60, Avadu Yom Tovo Rabbanan. He made a big party, he made a birthday party at the age of 60. Some say this is a source for the idea that when you turn a certain age, especially as you get older, celebrate it with a party. And he said, Nafku imi karis. He said that now I no longer I'm dying from karis. I at least escaped that punishment. Amroy Abai says to his Rebbe, he did not go mar mi karis to shani. Okay, you're not going to get karis from dying in years. You're not going to get the karis as in I died at 50 because I had karis. But still, there's another concept, mikaris the Yomi minafak. You still can have the karis from dying like a sudden death, which is also that karis of days. That's also possible. So you're not out of the woods yet. Why are you celebrating? So Amar Lei, Rav Yosef says back to Abai, he says, you know what? I'll take half. I'm okay. I got out of one punishment. That's still good. Celebrate when you can. Rav Huna died suddenly. Then the rabbis got all up, were all nervous. There's this great rabbi died suddenly. Maybe it was like a kares. There was a pair of rabbis who came from the Yahev. They said, no, when do we say if he dies suddenly, it's maybe kares? When you're not 80 years old. If you come to the age of 80, that's a kiss from God to die suddenly. That's a beautiful way to die. It's like if you get cancer at 95 years old, that's not a family history of cancer. That's like 95 years old. You know, you sign on that. You sign for that. Amarava Chaye B'ni. There's a very, very powerful phrase. Rava says, Chaye B'ni u'mezoni lo b'schutotayim milsa al b'mazalatayim milsa. The three things, you know, everybody in life, a lot of people are lucky, some people are not lucky, some people just have success, others don't. Rava says there are three things that are dependent not on your own merits, but on the mazel, on fortune. What are these things? Chayai, how long you live for. Some people live a long life, some people die young. B'ni, how your children turn out. Do you have children? Are your children good? Are your children a problem? Are your children successful? That's mazel. That's fortune. It's not to your merits. And then the last one is mizoni. How much money you have? Some people can work really hard, be very smart. They just don't make it with the money. Other people can be big fools, and yet they make a lot of money. So these three things are not on schus. They don't depend upon your merits, but on mazel. The Rabbi Rav Chisda, because Rabbi had two rabbis, both Rabbi and Rav Chisda, Travay Rabban and Tzaddik Yav. They're both great righteous rabbis. Mar Matzli Vasi Mitra, one prayed, and the rain came. Umar Matzli Vasi Mitra. Both of them, whenever they prayed, the rain came. Rav Chisda Chaya Tishim V'Tartin Shana. Rav Chisda lived for 92 years. Rabbi Chaya Arbaim. Rabbi only lived for 40. Bei Rav Chisda Shitzin Ilulei. Rav Chisda had 60 weddings in his household. Bei Rabbi Shitzin Tichle. Rabbi had 60 funerals. Bei Rav Chisda Smido Kalba V'Lomit Bay. Rav Chisda, the dogs in Rav Chisda's house ate bread made out of the finest flour, and there was always plenty. But by Rabba Nahama Desari Linchi, but Rabba, people got barley bread, and there wasn't even enough of it. Barley bread, the Gemara elsewhere tells us, is the food for animals usually. Rama Rava, Hani Tlas Mili Bai Kame Shmaya. There are three things I asked from heaven. Tarti Yavuli, two they gave me, Chado Yavuli, one they didn't give me. What? Chochmisa de Rav Huna, I asked for the wisdom of Rav Huna, and they gave that to me. Utre de Rav Chisda, I asked for the wealth of Rav Chisda, the Yavuli. They gave me both of those things. Anvat Nute de Rabbi Rav Huna Yavuli. I asked for the humility of Rabbi Rav Huna, they didn't give it to me. So I heard a couple of pshatim in this. That one is, why didn't he get the humility of Rabbi Rav Huna? So maybe he did get it. He was just so humble, he didn't realize that he got it. That's one explanation. A second explanation I heard, the first is I heard from Shirley Bornstein. He said like this. He said, no, when you were davening to Hashem, when Rava was davening, he was asking for a certain level, a certain dose of humility. He was saying, can I get humility? But at that point, he didn't need such a big dose of humility because he wasn't wealthy and he wasn't smart. But then he got the other brachos where he became wealthy and smart. He needed to get a bigger dose of humility. You need to get a very, very big potion of humility. But he had only prayed for the lower level. That's why the humility didn't work for him. Meaning to say it's easy to be humble if you don't have what to be arrogant about. So Rav Zaorim, a truly humble person wouldn't pray to be wealthy. Maybe he wants to do a lot of good with the wealth. He wants to give tzedakah. He wants to help brides. He wants to support yeshivas. Get the world, yeah. There's a lot of good you could do with wealth, wisdom, and humility. You need both. You need wealth, wisdom, and humility. But he said the humility was the hardest one to get. Rav Saora Machur de Rava, Ava Yosef Kamei de Rava. So Rav Saoram, who was the brother of Rava, he was sitting in front of Rava. Chazia Davi Kamanamim. He sees Rava is about to die. Amrle, Rava says to Rav Saoram, Leimale Mar the Lilitzar. He said, do me a favor, my brother. Go call the angel of death and tell him not to give me such a hard time. Let me go in peace. So Rav Suora says to Rava, but you're buddies with the angel of death. You're the one who has a friendship with him. You should be the one to talk to the angel of death. I don't need to do it. So Rava said, no. Even the Imser Mazolo. He says, no, but my time is up. So I no longer have that relationship with him anymore. So Rav Soram says to his brother, you know what? When you go to the next world, come back and visit me in my dreams and tell me what it's like. So Rava comes back and he sees him in a dream. He said, did you have pain when you went into the next world? He said, no, it was just like the prick of a needle. It wasn't a big deal. Rava Hava Yosef Kamei to Rav Nachman. So we want to show, because Rav Saorim said that Rava was friends with the angel of death. So this is how you know. Because Rava was sitting with Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman was the head of the Bezdin. He was the son-in-law of the Rosh Galusa. He was a very, very powerful force. So he was sitting in front of Rav Nachman. Chazir to come in on him. He sees Rav Nachman is about to die. Amrei, Rav Nachman says, Rav Nachman says to Rava, go have a conversation with the angel of death. Tell him not to give me a hard time. Rava says to him, you're such a distinguished person, Rav Nachman. You want me to talk to him? He says, no. Rav Nachman says, I want man choshev, man sap, and man rakia. He says, in front of the angel of death, there's nobody who's distinguished. All your protectia, all your connections, all your networking, all your awards, your options, your portfolio, nothing. The angel of death, not impressed, not going to work. You go have a conversation with him. That's what he says. So Amalei says, okay, fine, I'll go talk to him, but you come and visit us afterwards. He appeared to him in a dream. He says, was it painful for you to travel to the next world? He says, it was just like taking hair out of a cup of milk, meaning say very soft and smooth and silky, no problems. And he said, and he said, if God would tell me, do you want to go back to the world that you just came from? Well, I would say no. I wouldn't want to do it. To nafish be a tutu. Everybody there walks around afraid. I'm not interested in going back there. Rebbe Lazar, Havikachal Truma. Rebbe Lazar was eating Truma. And then what happened was, the angel of death appeared to him. Rebbe Lazar says, listen, Truma Kachilna. I'm eating Truma now. It's a holy food. Lav Kodesh, Shikri Truma is called holy. Chofle Shata. So the angel of death came back at a different time. He left him alone. Rav Sheishes says, Rav Sheishes saw the angel of death in the marketplace. Amroi Beshuka Kabehema, Asa Lagabe Besa. He said, you're coming on me like in the marketplace like an animal? Come to my home. Let's do this like a mensch. Rav Ashi is Chazale Beshuka. Rav Ashi met the angel of death in the marketplace. Amroi Israchli Talas Yom. He said, just delay it for 30 days. Delay the whole process for 30 days so that Vahaju Talmud, so I can review my Torah studies. The Amrisu Asher Misha Balakan Talmud Biyado. It says, fortune is the one who comes up to the heaven and he's got his Torah and he has his Torah studies in his hand. Let me just do a chazara. Let me review my Torah studies for the next 30 days. Beyond Tlas and Awesome, day 30, also the angel of death on the dot appears. Amar Lai, Ravash says, what's your rush? What's your rush? You're going to give me an extra day? You have to be exact? The angel of death is a yeki? So he says, no, because the person who's your successor is Barnasan, and his legs are pushing. As we know, he says, and one kingdom cannot touch another kingdom even by a hair. So Rav Ashi, you're done. Now this is very powerful to me because I was thinking that Rav Ashi, he's the editor of the whole Gemara. Barnasan, I don't know how many times he appears in Shas. If he appears a half a dozen times, I'd be shocked. I don't remember actually seeing him. Obviously, I don't know the Talmud by heart, but I don't remember another time Barnasan appears. So he's certainly nowhere near the amount of magnitude of Rav Ashi. But nevertheless, even Rav Ashi can't hold off Barnasan even for the proper time, even like a hair. Rav Chisda the angel of death couldn't defeat Rav Chisda. Why? Because he was never stopped learning Torah. He's studying Torah. When you're studying Torah, the angel of death can't get you. Salak Yosef Ba'arza, the angel of death went and sat on a cedar tree in the house of Rav. Paka Arza, the cedar tree broke the shasak, and Rav Chisda stopped studying Torah for a second. That's when the angel of death got him. Rav Chia was not able to. The angel of death was not able to get to him. One day, the angel of death looked like he disguised himself as a poor man. Asaf Taraf Baba, he came and he knocked on the door. Amarle, Afikle Rifti, he says, bring me some bread. So from Rav Chia's house, Afikle, they brought him out bread, but Rav Chia didn't stop learning. So the angel of death said, he says, you're having mercy on that man, on that poor man. Why don't you have mercy on me? I also have a job to do, says the angel of death. Galilei, the angel of death revealed himself. He showed him a fire pillar. He gave up his life. He allowed himself to be killed. Just do the last Mishnah. Of tractate Moed Katan, topic 28b. Nashim b'Moed ma'anos. The women of Moed are able to be ma'anos. The Mishnah is going to tell us what that means. Avalom mitpachos, but they're not allowed to clap their hands. Rabbi Shmuel Omer hasmuchos lamita mitpachos. The ones who are next to the coffin, they can clap. Rosh Chodashim Chanukah Purim ma'anos umitpachos. On Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah Purim, they could do the ma'anos and the mitpachos and the clapping, but they don't do the mekonenos, not on the Chol Moed and not on the Rosh Chodesh Chanukah Purim. Nikvar Ameis, once the body is buried, now once the body is buried, then you don't do the ma'anos or the mitpachos, and you don't do the ma'anos mitpachos at that point once the body is buried. Ezu inoi, what is inoi? Shekul and onos ka'achas. All the women are chanting in unison. Kinab, what's a mekonenos? She'achas medaberes v'kulon onos acharah. Now one woman speaks and the others chant after, as it states, V'lameid na penosechem nahi v'isharu sakina. You teach the women, your daughters, how to cry out, and a woman does a elegy with her friend. But in the future, God willing, soon it will say from Isaiah 25:8, death will be swallowed up eternally. And God will wipe away the tears from every person's face. We'll stop here because today I'm in a little bit of a rush. We'll stop here, and God willing,